All right, Nick, let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. A big matchup coming against the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend. It's going to be absolutely huge, and it's going to, quite frankly, be if the Jags are for real or not. And they have some really good news coming into this game, a big time injury update that I think the Jags fans are going to love.
Yeah, Miles, this is two, not one, but two outstanding reports for the Jaguars team as we get ready for probably the biggest game since, frankly, the playoffs last year. Of course, there's only been one game, but still, it's a huge matchup against the Chiefs, which leads me directly into my question for you Jags fans to answer in the comment section below. Give us your prediction of the final score of the Jags-Chiefs matchup on Sunday. Whether you think the Jaguars are going to win or whether you think the Chiefs are going to pull it out, whatever you think, we want to hear from you guys. We know you're a smart fan base. Let us know that your prediction, final score of the game in the comment section below. All right, Miles, what you got? What's this injury update out of Jacksonville?
Yeah, Nick, before we get to the injury update, let's give you the flip side of things for the Kansas City Chiefs. We all know they have come to a deal with Chris Jones. He is back on the field, at least for this year. And I think things are going to look a little bit differently on defense than they did versus the Lions. Not saying that the Jaguars couldn't handle that, but originally, if their guard and center and Scherf and Fortner were out, it would not have been very good now that Jones is back. But luckily for the Jags fans, we have some good news on that front. Let's get into the story, Nick, and we'll talk about it on the other side of things. This is from over on the Jaguars report. It says the Jacksonville Jaguars are catching a lucky break before week 2. With the Kansas City Chiefs set to visit Everbank Stadium on Sunday, the Jags got a good piece of injury news to close the week, with Jags head coach Doug Pederson announcing the injured center Luke Fortner ankle and right guard Brendan Scherf, also ankle, would play on Sunday. Fortner and Scherf have started each of the Jaguars' last 20 games together. That's a substantial body of work together. The entirety of the Pederson era. Now the duo will be on hand versus elite defensive tackle Chris Jones. Yeah, you're doing everything you can to put everybody in the best possible, being aware of where he is at all times. Jaguar offensive coordinator Press Taylor said this week, we have to plan for if he's playing shade, if he's playing 3, if he's playing end. That's something you see as you watch across the course of watching their defense. He lines up everywhere, and he does a great job wherever he's aligned. Everybody is aware that he could certainly come up at any point in time, and it could be in the game where he's standing at defensive end versus shade or 3. Whatever that may be, there's something we're very aware of, and we prepared a plan of attack for these guys. So, Nick, all that being said, all of these different places Jones can line up, if Fortner and Scherf were not coming back, there's a lot of holes on that offensive line where Chris Jones could really eat. He could take over a game if you give him a massive hole that big. 2 guys playing right next to each other, giving you that big of an advantage on the defensive side of things isn't good for the Jaguars. That's not how they're going to win this game. But luckily, they are both back, and it makes this offensive line look a heck of a lot better, especially after saying that they have played together for 20 straight games, the entire Doug Pederson era. There's a lot of cohesiveness. Everyone knows how to attack this problem. So I think they're set up much better to handle Chris Jones coming back. But Nick, what do you think about this? You can kind of give us your perspective from the offensive line standpoint of how important both of these guys making it back would be.
Oh, well, obviously, Scherf is an outstanding player. And anytime you're losing your starting center, if you're going to be without him, you're in a world of hurt. That communication, leading the offensive line, like it really matters. You hear talking heads talk about it all the time. It actually does matter, figuring out who's the Mike linebacker, identifying what the defensive structure is up front to figure out who's got who in terms of your blocking schemes, especially in pass protection. It's critical to have your center in there who knows what he's doing, and that's obviously what they're going to get. And of course, Scherf's just a really nice player, a savvy veteran. But if you talk about getting them both back, and you brought up a great point, the fact that 2 injuries, if they had them both out, that would have had center, right guard missing the entire game. That would have allowed the Chiefs to do all kinds of creative stuff where they could have created all kinds of one-on-one matchups with Jones, either against that guard or that center, because it would have been easier too, because you have 2 new guys in there. You can isolate a bunch of other players to the other side, like overload the offense's left where they're healthy, force the offense to slide to the left, leave one-on-one matchups on the right. Instead, the Chiefs won't be able to do that, which is obviously a good news for this Jaguars offense. But I think one of the other things to really focus on here is that Doug Pederson is so creative with his run blocking schemes and how he designs a lot of different things. He asks his offensive linemen to do a lot of different types of schemes, whether it's pulling, whether it's kicking out, whether it's working up to the next level, double teams. He asked them to do it all the time throughout the game. We had a film breakdown of the preseason. We'll put it at the end of the video for anyone who hasn't seen it. That kind of highlights a lot of what the Jaguars do. But again, if you have your 2 veterans out, you can't do any of that. Your game plan basically just goes out the window. You have to do a lot of vanilla, which plays right into the Chiefs' hands in terms of how they feel they can stop you up front. But instead, having your 2 veterans able to play, and the fact they are going to play, allows them to run their complex schemes that they like to do in the run game. What they do, it's really smart, Miles. They're able to isolate defensive linemen, pull guys to kick them out from all kinds of different angles. They have 2 really good backs in ETN and Bigsby. Obviously, Lawrence is spectacular. But again, without those guys, you kind of have to go vanilla. Allows guys like Chris Jones and this Chiefs defense to do all kinds of things up front to them. Instead, the Chiefs are going to have the offensive tempo dictated to them based on Doug Pederson's schemes. And I think that'll give the Jaguars the advantage they need on offense. Now, whether they can stop Kelsey and Mahomes on their side of the ball in terms of defense, that remains to be seen. But the fact that they're going to be healthy up front, I think will mean that the Jaguars will be able to move the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs and put up a good amount of points as well.